Greetings, love and visionaries. Yeah, we welcome you today. Yeah, beautiful day. Such a pleasure and a blessing to connect with you again. So, in today's video, we will be discussing the phenomena that generate and produce a sense of guilt and fear. So we'll talk about the first one being the phenomenon of resonance, second one, the phenomenon of facing, the third one, the phenomenon of dignity, the fourth one, the phenomenon of decision you are making, the fifth is the phenomenon of remorse and indebtedness, and six is the phenomenon of the new depth of your spirituality, 7 is the phenomenon of the future, 8 is the phenomenon of a mark, 9 is the phenomenon of beauty, goodness, and truth. So the first is the phenomenon of resonance, or the phenomenon of resonant causation. The old paradigm of causation, the upward causation or causal theory of the Cartesian philosophy. So let's take Newtonian physics. Newton's first law states that every object will remain at rest or in uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change its state by the action of an external force. An example is a billiard ball colliding type causation that does generate these new types of guilts and fears. But resonant causation, the new paradigm of causation, increases its influence as the days and weeks, months and years unfold, can generate guilts and fears and new kinds of guilts and fears. So fears and guilts that you have been using, perhaps even pretending you are not conscious of them, and perhaps convincing yourself you are not consciously using. So guilts and fears you have been using get forced to the surface. Guilts and fears have become your avenue of least resistance over the years and your automatic response of your humanness. Instinctive response and survival needs of fight, flight, or freeze or fawn. Resonance will push the old guilts and fears to the surface. You see, when your current resonance and frequency vibration or standing wave of the various components of self that you are, that current resonance has a place and a space for your guilt and fears. When that resonance rises, when that resonance increases, when it becomes rarer, deeper, more real, those rattles of guilt and fear come up to the surface to be exposed. So the flatheads, the sharps, the jagged ends, the broken pieces, the half pieces, little pieces, the hard to reach pieces within, etc., that are not supposed to be in your harmony, tranquility, inner peace, etc., all of a sudden become irritating, annoying, and squeaky. As your resonance rises, they cannot be sustained and cannot be suspended by your suppression techniques. These guilts and fears that you have been using, however, secretly or openly, these avenues of least resistance or least effort, come to the surface to be faced and cleared out. Yeah. So it's like the immune system that searches for foreign elements or alien energy. Your immune system finds them, then encapsulates them, and then moves them out to the surface. Resonance, like your immune system, seeks out and finds these pieces of viruses and jagged pieces, of guilt and fears, and encapsulates them and moves them out to the surface to get rid of them. So if you can understand guilt and fear and have new ways of handling them, then it becomes okay. Right now, you may not have all the right tools in your toolbox to deal with and handle old and new guilts and fears. So you can see why people would want to back away from healing their old and new guilts and fears. Like good old cause and effect of resonance causation. As you increase your light, wisdom, and vitality, the old guilts and fears rise to the surface to be vented and healed. Many, but not all, may not want to work on the old guilts and fears, the new guilts and fears in themselves. Some may want to do things by conflict, by collision. Let's do things the old way we used to do and always have done them. Guilt trip, avoid fear and guilt, and fear motivate, and stick to what works, empower, control, and intimidate ego behavior. If you have a resonance of guilt and fear, you will attract more guilt and fear. Therefore, guilt and fears that you have been using all of a sudden will show up even though they have not been a problem in your residence. Certain guilt and fears, yes, old guilt and fears that you have not completely released, been avoiding, that you have done some of the work on, let go of most of, have not fully released, haven't fully ended, like residue, gets shaken and vibrated and brought to the surface to be vented, revealed, and healed. Some of these are yet to be finished guilts and fears, and as a result of resonance, become conscious. So you may find by being around certain people and standing around certain people and being in certain areas of the world and on certain vortices and certain energy centers, and let's just say, for example, people. There's certain people that are really working on themselves. They've worked on their old guilts and fears. They've worked on their new guilts and fears. They have the tools in their toolbox, and they're doing their tai chi, their yoga. They're working on themselves. They have high frequency. When you get near these people, they can shake and rattle you too. They may not be purposely doing it. They're just in a high frequency, right? They're in a different parallel Earth almost, and you're standing like, oh God, I'm having like, my heart's raising up. Oh, I'm getting sweaty right now. I'm pulsating. What's going on? I'm feeling fear right now. Because their high vibration, their high frequency is triggering those little jagged, old suppressed guilts and fears. Like, oh man, I need a cigarette right now. I was like, I need to do something, a drink or something. I need to do something. I need to start guilt tripping. I need to start manipulating or something to make this suppressed again. I got to get away from this person. Just being around this person triggers it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Comments below. Number 2 is the phenomenon of the facing. So humanity worldwide will be coming face to face with themselves, life, and a grander love. Yeah, humanity will be facing and will be dealing with the facing the parallels, new ways to interact, facing deeper love, facing a spectrum of possibilities and potential, facing miracles, facing change, facing their shadow self, facing their virgin future, facing their soul, facing their pain, facing their anxiety, facing their doubt, facing their self-pity, right? Facing their unprocessed emotions, right? Etc. Facing, what are you facing? As you face yourself, the first thing to do is to stop condemning yourself and persecuting yourself already, okay? Right? Especially from things you did in the past. Yes, the shadow self. Yes, we may have all done things in the past that we are or may not be fully proud of. Things we did that we did not want to admit. Things we tend to want to push away. Whatever the shadow side is, we tend to want to push it away from us or hide it within us. Bury it deep within us like, this is not me. I do not like this. This is not light. How could I do that? That was not me. Get it away from me. Yuck. Huh. Yeah, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? So we must face the parallels, face a deeper love, face a spectrum of possibilities and potential, face miracles, face change, face your shadow self, face your virgin future, and create divine ones. Each of these faces can vary in degrees and also generate and produce a sense of guilt and fear. Yay, right? All right, so what are you facing right now? And as you're facing it, you can be generating guilt and fear. And whatever it is you are facing right now, just know that you work out these barbs, these hooks, as they're coming to the surface, as you're facing a deeper love and a spectrum of possibilities. So whatever you're facing, even maybe a higher conscious self, you bringing up these guilts and fears, is to work through them. All right. Okay, the number 3, the phenomenon of the decision you are making. Every situation, every encounter, every action, every problem, everything you are facing in your life involves a decision you need to make. We can hope, fear, or know we are going to make the decision that benefits us or hinders us. So the future will be a dream. You have made the conscious decision to not create a nightmare or some kind of half accomplishment, but instead a visionary dream, even in the face when others have chosen otherwise. You have chosen to face your guilt and fears and your dreams. So know, divine ones, that no matter what you are facing or about to face, a decision will have to be made, And in that facing can generate a sense of guilt and fear. So trust that the decision you are making or about to make will benefit you and everyone involved. Life is full of decisions. Just breathe, be, and trust you will make the right decision to learn, grow, and evolve from. Number 4 is the phenomenon of a human dignity that exposes human tragedy. The phenomenon of human dignity can generate new fears and new guilts. This may be a difficult one to swallow as you work on yourself, developing and discovering your dignity. Your human dignity, with its various human components, dignity exposes you not to experience, not to live or go through, but to be aware of human tragedy. Wonder and awe sometimes bring you too close to the fires of human tragedy, out of development of human dignity. When you start getting in touch with your own dignity, worthiness, self-respect, and deep caring and loving for yourself, dignity is a deep blossoming of your love as you express your love with substance through caring. You then become aware of the tragic lack of dignity that you have had. When you discover that sense of value, intensity, integrity, character, and presence, when you discover that sense of soul and spirit, and that freedom is so much of your dignity, out of loving, caring, presence, value, and sharing, dignity is born. Within you, entity, loving child of God, Goddess, is dignity, freedom of spirit and soul. Now these days we are continually coming face to face with a lack of dignity that you have had, and the tragedy of that, how it has been denied, how you have denied it, how you have functioned so long without it. There can be that sense of your own personal tragedy when you say it is your own dignity. Sometimes in the face of human dignity there will be a sense of guilt and old guilt, or substitutes, or motivator, or manipulation, or anesthetic. There will be also fears, etc. Anything to fill the gap and make it okay to not have to deal with and handle the responsibility. So you begin to see the tragedy of those who do not want to change at all, but want to alleviate or lessen their symptoms instead of mining, revealing, and healing themselves. So there are those in the metaphysical community of the old world and the new world. There are those in our world who speak of growing and changing, and what they really mean is they just want to eliminate, obscure, ignore, run away from, or hide the symptoms. I don't want to give up control. I just want to learn how to do it without showing it. I don't want to stop being arrogant and ignorant. I just want to cover it up so no one knows it. I don't want to stop my martyr or victimhood or struggler or blamer, right? Self-pity tactics. I just want to dress it up in a way that looks like something else. I do not want to be any different than I am now. I just want to look like it, or I just want people to think I am. Those often in those boat of martyr, struggler, blamer, and victim do not say it that clearly, though. When you start waking up to your human dignity, a deep caring for yourself and others, some discover it in themselves after all these years. Some will say, I have never acknowledged it or even applied it. All these years I have been masking symptoms by looking good and trying to look better than them, right? But honestly and truthfully, not really. No matter how much you try to put on a mask over the symptoms or try to hide from others, the symptoms will break through. The mask of avoidance, blame, control, martyr, victim, struggler, etc. It's time to give up those payoffs in the hidden agendas you have been hiding behind. Human dignity, you sometimes see it in others. You may say, oh my God, they have not changed. They may look like they've changed, but they have not. Those are all masks of cosmetic changes to alleviate the symptoms. White painting the fence and putting the same old patterns of destructive behavior over the old, right? Eventually you will put so much paint on it cracks and bursts out the truth. There is tragedy and sadness there, All these years of hiding and running from your human dignity. Often it's easier to feel guilty or to feel fear about your own change as a way of distracting yourself from the hard truth. There is no more past. Oh, there is so much freedom with dignity. Embrace, dive into the depths of your being, and shine forth your human dignity for all those to see and witness. There is so much of the dream, there is so much vision, and there is so much to create in the virgin future. You see, your dignity to enhance your freedom, and dignity is one of those ways to enhance your freedom with soul in spirit. Fly into life with your human dignity, divine ones. Yeah. So the fifth one, the phenomenon of remorse and indebtedness. Symbiosis is the joining together of otherwise disconnected components to form a whole, to form a group, to form a connection, and a parasitic symbiosis in the animal kingdom. Parasites connect themselves to other fish or to other animals, right? Certain birds ride on animals, eating ticks off them, or larger creatures in that sense have a symbiotic relationship with quite a different species. And they are working together, mutually with a benefit. For some, symbiotic guilt is expressed as self-denial. I have to take care of everybody else, don't you see? That's what I'm here for, not to take care of me, not for me to be happy, but for me to make everybody else happy, for me to take care of everybody else. Now, years ago, many of you were confronted with this symbiotic guilt. The idea you had to get all your mothers and fathers and family members involved in your metaphysics. How's that going for you? Or it somehow was not real that way. You were not spiritual enough unless you got everybody enrolled, because you had to get them in, you see. They had to belong, and they had to play those who suggested such, played often upon your symbiotic guilt. You had to deny yourself and take care of everybody else, or maybe everybody else than yourself, okay? But you also had to deny yourself, at least for a while, if not entirely. That generates a symbiotic guilt. How can I go on? How can I be so happy? How can I be successful? When there are people out there who don't even know they create their own reality. I must get them to know that before I can move on. Symbiotic guilt and self-denial. Another form of symbiotic guilt is that I have to fix everybody else. I got to fix them, or I got to fix myself. Everything and everybody had to be fixed before I moved on. We just can't move on. We have to fix everything. We have to finish what we start and fix everything. And this is also a form of self-denial. For some, symbiotic guilt results when I am afraid of the intensity of my emotions, such as when I can feel sympathy, but I can not feel empathy. Now, there is nothing wrong with sympathy, as long as it is in little doses. Often there are situations I feel great sympathy, but if I stay in sympathy alone, refusing to go any deeper, refusing to be any more intense or any more real with my emotions, sympathy eventually turns vertical. And what we mean by that is I feel sympathy for you. At first, that can be connection between us, but if I stay in feeling sorry for you, poor you, you can't work your way out of a paper bag, can't cross the street without help, you poor, poor victim. In time, you see what was lateral communication becomes more and more vertical. You down there, me up here, poor you, sympathy. Do I become better then? We don't say it starts there. Please do not misunderstand us. We are not saying all sympathy is better then. No, it's not. What begins as sympathy needs to evolve into empathy. If it doesn't, with any stunted growth, it can become damaging, and therefore people who are afraid of their intensity often can feel sympathy for someone else. But when it comes to the empathy of being able to feel the intensity of the emotions the person is feeling, I can feel sorry for your loss, but I can't feel the pain of your loss. Sympathy versus empathy. Often I counteract that fault in my own ability to feel with symbiotic guilt. I feel sympathy for you and I feel guilty about myself. Well, my life isn't that good either. I'm not really happy, it seems. See, as I am connecting to you rather than connecting to you, I can understand your pain. I am connecting to you by feeling guilty. Symbiotic guilt. Connection instead of empathy. Sympathy without the depth, without the intensity emotions. Perhaps the largest reason for symbiotic guilt, and that is a sense of belonging. You want to belong. When you were a kid, maybe you had a mommy or even a daddy or both, and maybe you had siblings and extended family, but now that you are all grown up, maybe in your 20s, 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s, and as hard as you try, it's very difficult to believe in Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, etc. It's really difficult to get your pajamas with the feet that goes inside of them, to play in the sandbox all day, to run around all day playing without a worry in the world. It's very difficult to be a little kid again. It's really difficult to hold on to a family that you pretend is or was, but you see, if I can feel guilty, then I can belong. Then I can be in a way connected. Maybe something horrible happened in your family. A setback, a loss, beatings, a death of a family member or members by accident or by natural disaster, or alcoholism, drug abuse, cancer. And maybe as you grow up, you might say, why me? Why did I survive? As a way of seeing yourself as a victim. Well, definitely, it is a loss, yes, but you see, it's your way to connect to them. They are not really gone. Often this is with loved ones that maybe you don't want to let go, either because the relationship is over and you don't want to admit it, or more final than that depth is you hold on by guilt so you can belong, when in fact you don't really have a connection. This is symbiotic guilt. There is also, for some way, a feel love, intimacy, caring when they don't really know how. Some don't want to feel love, intimacy, and caring in the consensus, okay, but most do want to. Therefore, some replace intimacy and caring with guilt. What do you mean I don't love you? Look how guilty I feel. And what do you mean I don't care? Look how worried. Look how guilty I feel or felt. What do you mean I'm not intimate? I feel guilty all the time when I'm around you. This love, intimacy, and caring become expressed as that guilt to connect with you, to hold on to you, to look like I'm loving, caring, and intimate because I really want to be, but too often I don't know how. So symbiotic guilt can also come by feeling undeserving, not because I don't have it, but because maybe you have too much. Oh, I would never feel that until you get there, and all of a sudden you go, I have created this success and this achievement and this opportunity and this successful me, and if I ask for more, won't that somehow jinx it? Won't that be one block too many on those pile of success and cause the whole thing to shatter? I've got enough success. I have enough happiness. I have enough. I have somebody to love. I have somebody to care about. I have a wonderful career. I have a wonderful expression, a fantastic creativity, but I'm afraid to have more. I don't deserve more than I already have. So those who won't receive as a way of blocking that success and block that receiving is by feeling guilty. I am feeling guilty. I cap my success with symbiotic guilt. When you come to understand that, yes, you can and will really make mistakes and learn from them. It really is okay to make mistakes. Even though the practice is over and everything counts now, you can still make mistakes. It's okay. You learn and grow from mistakes, and mistakes are stepping stones to success, right? So yes to your success, divine ones. You can make mistakes and you can be forgiven and you can forgive not only yourself but others. Oh, the beauty and wonder of forgiving not only yourself but for others too, right? When you really understand the wax and wane of your own preparedness and trust, when you understand the shifting and priority of your needs and wants and preferences, when you understand and come to that great sense of your value, worth, and integrity with your meaning and significance, that sense of character, dignity, bounty, domain, dominion, etc., that sense of your truer and grander love, transcendent self, right? All functions of genuine remorse, all the life-changing benefits on the other side of indebtedness. Yes, some of you will feel guilt, and yes, some will always be guilt tripping, and some will even feel and live in a constant state of fear-based reality as a phenomenon of these realizations. So the remorse, which is often called guilt when it's not, indebtedness, which is perhaps the first level of genuine fear rather than genuine guilt, is not guilt at all, but indebtedness. Sometimes you feel so guilty and you feel indebted to them for life. I will always do anything to make you happy so I don't feel guilty again. How's that going for you? So this phenomenon of remorse and indebtedness grow in your world, not just your world, but the world. Many can produce this new guilt, new fear, this new entanglement with old names. Okay, number 6, the phenomenon of the new depth of your spirituality. So the new relationship with God, Goddess, your higher self, soul and spirit, and unseen friends can and will generate new guilts and fears. That phenomenon, with its greater and grander passion, creativity, imagination, intuition, wisdom, etc., likewise can generate and produce a strange new sense, feelings, learning, and experiences. When one lacks or needs depth, doesn't have it, when I want depth but don't know what to create it, guilt is often more than not that substitute. I don't know how to discuss it in depth, so I might as well feel guilty. Guilt is often a substitute for connectedness, that glue you use to connect to others, that webbing flow to connect myself to others, or my spirituality, or my physicality, my soul, God, Goddess, higher self, unseen friends, etc. We use guilt instead of connectedness. Guilt is often as a substitute for acceptance. Guilt is a substitute for okayness. We usually say, do I feel guilty enough yet to be accepted, to be needed, to be wanted, to be loved by God, Goddess, soul, higher self, and unseen friends? Do I feel too guilty to belong to God, Goddess, my higher self, my soul, etc., whatever segment I use to belong to? So these substitutes, this is what guilt does. This is the function of guilt: impeding, suffocating, alienating, weighing you down, heavy, burdensome, lacking, alone, etc. These qualities are so essential to human existence, to honestly feel, to have remorse, sorrow, willingness, and positive thinking and feeling, forgiveness, love, character, integrity, dignity, and consciousness, to have depth, to be connected, to be accepted, etc. This is so critical right now. When these qualities are absent, the glue turns into guilt goo, impeding and suffocating, which creates interconnectedness with these new senses, feelings, learnings, and experiences with God, Goddess, your soul, your higher self, your spirit, and your healing unseen team. Okay, number 7, fears and guilts are powerful tools that emerge from the phenomenon of the future. So as you can come to understand, as you come to know, as you can sense the difference, which may not make sense. Now, as you are just beginning the embark on this journey of beginnings, of this journey of coming home, at this beginning of embarking on the wonder of your life, just having to face the futures generates new and old guilts and fears, where your past is thrown forward and trips you up on guilts and fears, or new guilts and fears arise that you have never encountered before. As the months unfold and as your journey matures, this difference of fears and guilts between the old fears and new fears, which threaten your very state of mind, state of doing, having, being, possessing, etc., and the new guilts and fears which threaten your existence as a state of being will become more apparent and more clear. So as you are moving forward through the expanded moment of now, the reason why one needs to be ended and the other is to be moved beyond likewise is becoming evidently clear. Number 8, the phenomenon of a mark, where you need more healing and where you need more loving. Where you need more healing, where you need more loving, that is where you will feel that guilt and fear. Then you can know there, that's what I need, more love and more healing. That's what I need to do. To turn to my higher self, truer self, soul, spirit, God, goddess of all that is. That is what I need to do to receive the change to grow. It is also a focus. These fears, these guilts are intended to be a focus on your thorns, a focus on your barbs, a focus on those pebbles in your shoe, the obstacles, the unresolved that still need your attention and still need your processing, still need your release, venting, and healing. Sometimes guilt and fear work to note a reservoir or resource within yourself. Other times they note an emptiness and are a lack. Sometimes they indicate where the hook, the entanglement, the barb, the resistance, the obstacle, and the impedance are. Sometimes they show us where we need more loving and more healing, an emptiness that needs to be filled. To open you to focus you on these areas that can catapult you, that can cause you to leap forward with ease and grace, to tell you, here's a hook, here's a barb, here's a thorn, here is some unfinished business. Not only a flag for more love and healing, but also separately to flag that there is some specific obstacles or a thick thorn or hook that is holding you back. It is also these fears and guilts, this guilt or intend to sort of speak by a barometer or a guide counter, to mark or to measure, to indicate where you have reservoirs and resources, untapped reservoirs of imagination and of will and determination, where you have reservoirs of creativity, untapped, unused creativity, untapped, unused dreams and visions. When you face your fears instead of running from them, you will discover the treasures in the field within holding untapped imagination, future sparks of dreams, passion, creativity, etc. Okay, number 9, the phenomenon of beauty, goodness, and truth. The resistance to and the avoidance of the wonder, beauty, goodness, and truth lead to old and new guilts and fears. Okay, as you come to the beauty, goodness, and truth, as you open up more to a grander love, as you experience beauty, goodness, and truth, often these become your motivators, rather than guilt, rather than fear to be a motivator. We share beauty, wonder, awe, excitement, creative ideas, goodness, dignity, and truth. Your visions, dreams, beauty, wonder, and matter, divine one. What you have to share has substance and is valued and needed here. The incredible truth and the phenomena of your beauty and your goodness and your truth is there will be for some a sense of guilt and some a sense of fear, perhaps to undo the unfamiliar or uncomfortable. Perhaps these new motivations feel so frightening and so unsafe. However, the phenomena of beauty, wonder, and truth itself will lift you into a rare field of where you will be motivated by visions, dreams, hopes, faith, possibilities, etc., rather than guilt, fear, shame, and unhealthy anger, right? So let us rise as one into the beauty of your creations, divine ones. Okay, now the phenomena that we have been discussing about is, number 1, the phenomenon of resonance. Number 2, the phenomenon of facing. Number 3, the phenomenon of dignity. Number 4, the phenomenon of a decision you are making. Number 5, the phenomenon of remorse and indebtedness. Number 6, the phenomenon of the new depth of your spirituality. Number 7, the phenomenon of the future. Number 8, the phenomenon of a mark. And number 9, the phenomenon of beauty, goodness, and truth. These 9 phenomena are all cornerstones. They're all markers. They're all flags. They're all pointers. They're all signs or signals, etc. Where more healing and love, where barbs and thorns, where reservoirs and resources are untapped, and emptiness needs filling. As you're working with resonance, as you're working with dignity, as you're working with truth, spirituality, goodness, decisions, facing, beauty, remorse, and indebtedness, as you are working with any of these particular phenomena, It's not that each of them will or work simultaneously. It's not that they are all out to get you in an avalanche of guilt and fear, but instead to understand that any combination of these phenomena can generate guilt and fear. You see, the kind of guilt and fear that it will generate is not the old kind of guilt and fear, but ironically, it is a new kind of guilt and fear. This guilt and fear are to be used, not to be run from and ended. These new guilts and fears are to be used and then to be moved beyond. We are not suggesting, oh, happy days, feeling guilty and fearful. Oh, yay, you are in fear and guilt again. Not this, but instead to understand it, then work with it. To use it. Use these new guilts and fears to catapult you forward. Use them to lift your frequency to a higher level of resonance. Use the new guilts and fears to shift your frequency, your vibration, to shift your dignity, or to shift the very phenomenon that produces it to a more successful you. We use these new guilts and new fears to grow and expand. These new kinds of guilts and fears that emerge from these phenomena I mentioned above are intended to flag you, where you need more love, where you need more healing, where you need more attention, not more discipline, not more punishment, and not more harsh criticism. Right? I'm finding through my journey that it is vitally important, right, to look into all your beingness, search far and wide, mine deep into all your shadow selves and love them all. I'm sure right now an aspect of your past has been wanting to come up. Maybe an aspect of your shadow self is trying to express itself. This part of you just wants to be accepted and loved. You know the one you hide from, the one you keep secret, the one you will take to the grave with you. Yes, that is the one. When you face our shadow selves, our hidden gems, our dark corners, face change, face a grander love, etc. Although it may seem to be scary, dangerous, etc., facing our shadow self is in fact, quite safe. Beautiful, free, and liberating into wholeness. Here we unencumber ourselves as we face our shadow selves. Head on, divine ones. Dive into the dark light and shadow light of your past. Sit upon your master's chair in your heart space and ask the God Goddess to return all aspects of yourself, such as soul fragments you are pushing away, to now be returned to you, first through Creator's light, cleansed and purified, then through your emotional body. Whatever part of yourself right now, or that you tried to forget about, that is coming up from the past right now, or that may have happened to you in your current life, it is time to love this part of yourself completely. If you lock this part of yourself away in a closet deep inside of yourself, open that door now. Imagine the Creator and the angels around you. Hug this version of yourself. Dive into the womb of your shadow. Tell your shadow you understand how they feel. Let this version of yourself out. Love them, forgive yourself, and feel white light, cleanse, purify, integrate your past so that you may feel wholeness and complete again, divine ones. When you start becoming full, you become aware of how painful it is to be empty. Now, what becomes evidently clear is that it's time to love yourself in these areas more. Love is always greater and grander than guilt and fear. I choose to love. Yeah, I choose to love. Yeah. Thanks for listening to me today. Yeah, I choose to love. This is Chris Parr, Syrian and Lemurian wisdoms and teachings. Yeah.